Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Blinks, and I am joined today by.
Liquid oxygen.
And we want to take a little bit of time before the servers come up and talk about the patch notes real quick. So, with that being said, let's jump right in. We're not going to talk about the new heroes or the new shop mechanics or anything like that. Just going to go into gameplay changes, hero changes, and talent changes. So, under designing gameplay, first thing we have is line skill shots can no longer be self-cast using the Alt key. Um, I don't think that really affects
That
anything, does it?
doesn't really affect a lot of people now.
Yeah.
More like a quality of life change, and I guess it's a good change. Um, there's not much to say about this
Yep,
one.
that doesn't really affect me as a competitive player at all. Alright. Hearthstone. A flat amount of health and mana are now restored after using Hearthstone to return to the Hall of the Storms. So,
Interesting. I don't see how this is going to affect gameplay in any way. Usually, when you're using your Hearthstone, you're not in any kind of immediate threat where you can respond faster by having a little bit more life.
yeah, I don't think it's about saving lives or like keeping people alive with barely bits of health, because if you're taking damage, you can't hearth anyway, and
Yeah.
maybe it's just to let people get back into the game faster. We'll have to see how much a
Yeah.
flat amount is. If you get back to 50% health immediately, maybe that's just to reduce downtime.
It'll reduce downtime a little bit. Yep.
So, under Battlegrounds, I think a really interesting change is that town halls no longer contain all of a town's experience points. While town halls retain a majority of the experience, the surrounding towers protecting the town now yield experience as well. What are your thoughts on that, Oxy?
Nice. I'm really happy to hear about this change. That's something that I've been waiting for a long time. However, I must express concern, given that the current meta has been very push-oriented. So, will this give or pushing heroes an unnecessary edge? We're about to find out with the following patch notes.
I agree. I think with the promote nerf that we're going to get to in a little bit, it's not that big of a deal, but uh, it'll be interesting to see how the game turns out. I really like the idea that getting a tower or a gate down is a lot more meaningful now than it was before this patch. So let's see. Curse Hollow tribute channeling time reduced from 7 to 6 seconds. Maybe that's just to, I don't know, help new players steal the tribute. I don't really think it's that big of a deal, a 1 second difference. Oh,
I'm not sure about this one actually. I really like those extended tribute fights, but I think they feel like it might have been a little bit too hard, or like you've been it's been distracting from the gameplay too much. 1 second is kind of a big deal. Actually, there's a lot of abilities that kind of use this very last second to manage to get their interrupts off, such as Dazzler's Side Storm and sometimes Desmond and Orbs.
mm.
So that's going to speed up tribute fights a lot, I think.
Alright, next we have Dragonshire. The Dragon Knight is no longer targetable by abilities or talents. I think that was kind of a pretty easy to see change, because it was very inconsistent between the Dragon Terror and
Yep.
the Dragon Knight and the Garden Terror, who could be targeted by abilities and who couldn't. So it's nice to see this consistency
Yeah, there's
around
also the
games.
fact that a lot of skills could target it, including Ancestral Spirits,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of skills could not target it for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's inconsistency here was the key word that she used.
And next we have Garden of Terror Spore Radius on the Q, increased by 10%. I actually think that's kind of a big change.
It's
Um,
actually decreased.
oh, decreased? I'm sorry. Wow. In that case, I also think it's kind of a big change. Now it's going to be even easier to dodge it, and you're going to have pretty perfect placement for some chokes on Garden
Yep.
of Terror to absolutely close it off.
Yep, absolutely. 10% might not seem like a lot, but in a circle, that's actually we're talking about the radius here. That's pretty big.
For sure. Yeah.
In effective size for a circle, I think this equates about 30%. If my high school maths serve well.
It'll be an interesting change for sure.
Yep.
And it looks like Haunted Mines is getting a big change. Underground minions are getting more health, the boss underground is getting more health, and the boss above ground is getting less health when you summon it. So, and less damage. So, why do you think they did that?
Basically, haunted mines are known to be very, very snowbally, and by slowing down the mines clear, they will make it so that when your team gets wiped or gets hindered in any way, it won't be as significant. It won't have such a significant impact on the game. And they're also making the golem that it summons a lot weaker, and I think this is for the same goal.
I hope that these changes will make the map, I guess, more liked in the competitive community and just among general players at all, because, well, as we all know, you play that map and then you lose an unlucky team fight, and the other team gets 100 skull golem and wins, and it's kind of like, well, that was dumb. We lost because of one small mistake. So hopefully this will alleviate some of those problems with the map, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yep.
Alright, taking a look at talents. Let's see. Conjurer's Spirit now also increases mana regeneration by 0.5 per second in addition to its other effects. I don't know.
So increase mana regen by 0.5.
Right,
so that's a base increase. So that makes it so that the talent will give you a boost as soon as you pick it up, which is nice. That's the equivalent of picking up 6 orbs. Given that creep waves spawn every 40 seconds, you're getting a nice little buff. You're getting 6 waves of orbs as an instant buff when you pick the talent. That's neat. Conjurer's Pursuit was picked up by a lot of heroes, however. So I don't know if it's going to push mana a little bit overboard. We'll see.
We'll see. It might. I hope the game doesn't turn really spammy, but I think 0.5 per second is a reasonable amount.
It's reasonable. Yep.
All right. Imposing Presence. Attack speed slow increased from 30 to 50%.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That's massive.
Yeah.
Wow. Imposing Presence was already a really good talent. Now it's been made that is really significant. Wow. I'm not sure what to think of that.
It'll be interesting to see if any teams start picking it on heroes like, I don't know, for example, Uther comes to mind. His tiers, if I'm remembering correctly, his talents at that tier are, pretty
Asmodon gets that.
willy-nilly.
Asmodon gets that. Diablo gets that. Anubrak gets it. We're about to find out. Now he doesn't have it. Dispatch, or pre-patch rather, but Dispatch he's gonna have that instead of Rewind. That is huge. That's gonna be really big.
All
I
right.
like it.
So now the nerf we've all been waiting for, Promote nerf, doesn't give it 300% health anymore, or maybe it does, but the important thing is it doesn't last forever, which is amazing. Asmodan, this is a direct nerf to Asmodan Abathur combos, and I don't know, I'm very, very, very happy to see it. You'll have to stay in lane to use it, because it's, even though it's got a 30-second cooldown, it's only got a 15-second duration, so you can't just promote a lane, leave it, and then let it push the keep for you.
Yep, you'll actually have to be extended in a way that your minions can attack to get benefit from it. So that's really nice. It heals the target to full. I think it kind of already did because the increase was so big on the health. And the charge cooldowns have been reduced. So it makes it more of an active skill rather than something that you do and just forget, which is nice. That's always nice. Passivity in games like this is never welcomed.
Absolutely.
In my opinion.
So another nerf we've all been waiting for is nerf to Resurgence of the Storm from 120 to 180 seconds. I was personally hoping for a 4-minute timer rather than a 3-minute timer, but a 3-minute timer is better than nothing. I think that this nerf will really let people think about, do I want to take the improved ult or do I want to take Resurgence of the Storm for some heroes?
Yeah. I would have rather seen the ability removed, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But this is a step in the right direction, so we'll see where this goes. I'm happy with this.
Rewind change is interesting. I like the cooldown increase from 60 to 90 seconds, but the refreshment of all basic ability cooldowns rather than just reducing them by 10 seconds. I like that, but for something that comes to mind that would be really strong off the bat is Tyrande rewind double owl into an Abathur, and you just kill Abathur wherever he is on the map after shadow stalking. And I haven't played enough heroes that like you can take rewind on to really know how it'll affect the game, and it'll be interesting to see what combos people find with this new rewind.
That's a pretty big buff to Kerrigan.
That's
She's
for
going to be able to cast 2 what is it called? Impaling Blades?
Primal Grasp and Impaling Blades, yeah.
Yeah, Impaling Blades, yeah. She's going to be able to cast 2 of these simultaneously, which she wasn't able to. There was a 2 seconds delay to give you a little bit of a breathing room there, so that's not a thing anymore. Same thing with Tyron. Tyron's a really interesting example. I'm glad you brought her up because she can double out instantly, and she can also double.
Lunar
What's
Flare.
it called? Yeah, lunar flare.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's pretty. That's pretty interesting.
And last one we see here, searing attacks while active. Basic attacks will now display crit, floating text on impact. Yeah, that's a nice little quality of life. Doesn't
Yep.
really affect the balance in any way, shape, or form.
That's good. I'm glad to see that. Polishing.
Alright, let's take a look at the heroes. Abathur, Toxic Nest, Vile Nest, slow duration increased from 2 to 4 seconds, and slow amount reduced from 50% to 40%. I feel like that's a buff, honestly.
That is a
huge
most
buff.
definitely. That's a very big buff.
Mhm.
Vile Nests. That's the tier 1 talent. Is that right?
Yes.
They're trying to stray away from people taking those bulky locusts that
Mhm.
have been so cancerous.
Mm-hmm.
And they're doing this by trying to buff this talent to make more of a caster avatar, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
rather than one to passively push. And I think they're doing a good job of
I think
that.
they're doing a good job, too.
However, that is an extremely strong talent. 40% slow for 4 seconds is massive.
Yeah.
So I want to see that.
Unfortunately, Abathur's getting a huge nerf with his ultimate cooldown starting immediately after casting or after it expires, and I think that this will make Blink on Abathur like more of a viable choice than taking the second ultimate at level 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically, it means less uptime on his clone, like in a nutshell. So there you go. That's something that people, I think, have been talking about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he can just use his clone and there's a really small window to try and engage, and it's not really that obvious, so now it's going to be more obvious. That's 90 seconds cooldown, am I right?
I think you're right, yeah.
Okay, so that's going to be 1.5 minute where you can actually make plays in between clones instead of like the 30 seconds that you had.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Alright, so for Nubarak, we see a big nerf for him with Rewind being removed. At level 16, prior to this patch, Nubarak became a monster with double Impaling Blades and double, I forget the name of his E.
Double Impale and what's it called? Underking?
Alright.
Oh wait, no, it's called, oh boy, Burrow Charge.
Burrow Charge, alright.
Okay, that's nice. He does get the new Imposing Presence though.
That is true.
50% attack speed slow, and he's really good at getting into people's faces.
Mhm.
That might be a very, very interesting choice for him as well.
That'll be interesting against teams like Vala, Raynor, Tychus, teams like that. where-
Anything with a double ranged or
Mhm.
melee assassin is going to be suffering a lot from this new
Absolutely.
change here. And
Absolutely.
I don't think Inubarak has a lot of really good 16 choices either. He's got what? Beetlejuiced. He's got I'm not even sure. Epicenter.
Mm-hmm.
That increased the Burrow Charge range and damage,
Mhm.
and AoE.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't that great, so I think Imposing Presence is going to be, well, making an imposing presence in his talent choices.
Alright. Hardened Carapace, shield amount reduced from 120 plus 30 to 90 plus 22. That's, I guess they thought that he was too tanky, which I personally would agree
Yeah.
with.
That's a big nerf. That
It
is
really
massive.
hard to kill. Yeah, that's big.
That's a 25% nerf right off the
Mhm.
bat. Boom.
As well as his ultimate healing less. So
Yeah.
I guess they saw the hot slogs and saw Nubarak's win rate and were like, nah, we
Yeah.
gotta get rid of that. Nah,
Oh
nah,
yeah,
nah.
that. Yep. The nerf on his ult is not that big. Oh, that's what 0.5 scaling at level 20. That's a difference of 10 health per hit out of, whatever it stole. Something like 60. Not that big of a nerf.
Mhm.
Not that big of a nerf. I think Locust Swarm is still going to be the competitive ult.
For sure. Big surprise on Arthas. I thought a big nerf was incoming, honestly. I think Arthas is probably the strongest hero in the game. Maybe you could make a argument that Abathur is stronger, or a hero like Tychus or Tassadar, but I thought
Yeah,
for
they
sure-
feel such different niches that it's really hard to
Mhm.
to debate that. But yeah, go ahead with the nerf. Go and read that. That big nerf.
Yeah. Mana cost increased from 10 per second to 12 per second. That's a non-issue. That's something you can play around. You just have to be good at canceling your E, and
That's completely trivial. Arthas gets free mana, and I don't think I really run out of mana on Arthas.
honestly, it just hurts like casual players or people who aren't incredibly serious about the game. But I mean, whatever.
I think everybody was expecting a lot more nerf coming for Arthas, especially since they did announce at BlizzCon that they would be doing something with him.
Well,
Uh, so maybe we have some kind of redesign somewhere down the pipeline, which would explain why there's not really many changes to him.
I hope so. I hope so. All right, looking at Asmodan, Battle Minion talent, basically the same nerf as Promote. Not really much to talk about there, I don't think.
That's pretty much it. That's good. It's still global presence. Still a really good trait. It's just not as ridiculous.
Not as good, yeah. Chen, Wandering Keg no longer grants a shield. All right.
My reaction to that was, really?
What?
Really?
Mhm.
Okay, Wandering Keg is not the ultimate that is commonly picked here.
For sure. Well,
So what's going on here? Do they know something we don't?
I don't think I've ever seen a Chen and a Keg get killed anyway. Maybe it's because the shield was too strong. I don't know.
Interesting.
Alright, let's look at Illidan. Sweeping Strikes, basic attack damage bonus increased from 25% to 35%, and his Immolation talent duration increased from 3 to 4 seconds, and damage reduced from 17 plus 3 to 13 plus 2.5.
Okay.
I mean,
Um,
that's nice.
That's okay. Well, that's kind of a. It's the same damage over a longer duration, so
Mhm.
that's basically a nerf for Immolation. And then basic attack bonus increased from 25 to 35. That's a tiny, tiny little buff for Illidan. Not gonna make a difference.
Yeah, his problem
25
is survivability, honestly. It's not...
Absolutely.
Anything
25% to 35%, that's 10% more damage. His damage is, what, 30 at level 1, so that's 3 bonus damage. And at level 16 or 20, he does about 160, so that's what, 10 bonus damage per hit?
For
If
sure.
that.
Mm-hmm.
That's very puny.
Alright, Lily rework. Do you think she's going to be competitive now, Oxy? She's going to be top tier hero?
I don't think that's a rework.
Well, I think they're trying to do things each patch with Lily, and
Yeah.
they've yet to hit on something that works. Maybe this will be the
They're
magic
gonna
patch.
have to. They're gonna have to
Mhm.
do a rework for her. She's too simple for the game. And simple heroes. I call them binary heroes.
Mhm.
It's a hero where it's either too strong or not strong enough. There's no balance that can really be achieved because the skill cap is not there. There's no. It's either her numbers are too high, and so she's too strong, like 2 patches ago,
Mhm.
or they're too low and she's too weak.
Mhm.
And that's a symptom of very simplistic design.
And I don't really think we need to talk about this, but her initial heal got decreased, but the scaling got increased, so the Q will be better late game.
Yep.
And a buff on her ultimate, but I still think that both of those abilities are terrible because you can't pick who you heal, and like Healing Brew will prioritize Nova clones over real heroes, or Abathur clones over real heroes, and you're like, no, I want to heal the real hero that's gonna die, but yeah.
I'd rather the skill just be targeted.
I'd rather,
this point.
yeah, I mean, just a totally different skill.
Yep.
Alright, Muradin looks like his trait's been buffed a little bit. The threshold on his increased regeneration increased from 30% to 40% health, so, I mean, that's nice. That'll give him a little bit more survivability, I guess.
Which is not what he needs.
Mhm.
Muradin, currently in his current state, needs a way of being a threatening hero through damage. The same way that Stitches uses his damage over time to kind of become a threat. He doesn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And Third Wind is not a talent that people usually pick because
Yeah.
Sledgehammer is on that tier. Sledgehammer is amazing.
For sure.
So I'm not sure, once again, what they're thinking with this buff here. It will not make a difference.
I mean, maybe they know something we don't. I'm sure they do. They have lots of data.
Sure, okay. We'll say that.
Alright, moving on to Nazebo. I guess maybe they didn't like the way this was working on a map like Haunted Mines' his Death Ritual talent, so units other than lane minions no longer grant permanent health and mana when killed while under the effects of Voodoo Ritual, but they increased the scaling of the Voodoo Ritual from 4 to 2 to 5 to 3, so maybe they want Nazebo to kind of like stay in lane longer. This seems like them saying like Nazebo needs to stay in lane if he takes that talent.
The 5 to 3, the 5 is kind of irrelevant, but I think the 3 is a pretty big deal. Because mana doesn't scale nearly as highly as health does. Your health goes something like 10 times the amount you have at level 1, or maybe not more like 8, but your mana barely doubles, if at all. So increasing that when it could already increase Nazebo's mana by something like 25 to 30% total, especially since his passive is based on his max mana.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty big buff, I think.
All right, Nova nerfs, Nova nerfs. Hail Blizzard, Nova nerfs.
Hallelujah.
Booster shot has been renamed a perfect shot. That's definitely a change we needed. Thank you, Blizzard. Been waiting for that one for a long time.
Nice.
Rename on hot shots and reduction from 330% damage to 300% damage. Yeah, I think that's needed too. I think hot shots was too strong. But the big change here is the rewind remove, which no longer lets Nova just delete heroes from the game.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blizzard.
All right, podcast is done. Man.
Yep, podcast is done. That's all that matters. I mean, I'm really excited about this. This last week with Nova free, it's been dumb. It's been stupid. I wasn't enjoying Heroes of the Storm.
Yep. So
and
that's great.
Yeah, and we have a small nerf on Snipe, so that's good too.
Perfect. I mean, Rewind. I was a big sucker for Hotshot. I really hated it. I love to hate it. But now that Rewind was removed, okay. Alright. I think Hotshot is still going to be 100% a pick you take at this level on this tier, which is questionable design, but at least it's got a semblance of balance now.
Mm-hmm.
So, fair enough?
Yeah, dude.
Okay.
Alright, getting towards the end. Sonya, I guess the lifesteal amount on Whirlwind is nice. That'll give her a little bit more survivability, but I don't understand why they needed to nerf leap cooldown from 50 to 70 seconds.
Yeah.
It's not like Sonya was top tier super strong hero anyway.
Yeah, I don't understand both of these changes. Whirlwind, because she already had a lot of lane sustain with it, and I guess that they try to buff it for team fights. So, if that was their goal, why did they not just give it a special clause that doubles the healing she gets from heroes by using Whirlwind?
Yep.
Instead of increasing it like that. Like, she's really hard to move from lanes, but Whirlwind completely sucks in team fights, so they need to find the proper balance there. And I think that, as I said, giving the clause would have been a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously they're not doing that, so... and then you've got the leap cooldown reduced by 20 seconds, or reduced or increase. Mm-hmm. That is huge, and Sonya is not exactly a highly competitive pick at this point, so
Well, in America. I think she gets picked in Europe, so... I don't know.
Maybe, but I think it's been established that Europe was a bit behind in terms of just
Shots
overall
fired.
play. Shots fired to Europe. No, but I remember playing with Koreans. It was Prime's team back in Descent, and they favored Sonya a lot, and they did really well with her. But that was before her other nerfs, so I'm at a loss. I am at a loss.
Alright. Moving on, Stitches. His Vile Gas trait, that's when you get hit, you fart out a little bit of green gas and it does damage. Had a little bit of damage reduction.
Nice.
Yeah. Maybe I felt it was helping clear waves too much or just did too much damage in general, but
it's
nice.
Passive damage, and I don't like things like that. I know that I brought it up earlier. I said it made Stitches threatening, yes. But I don't like passive mechanics like that, and reducing it is good.
For sure. Moving on, big changes to Tassadar. Let's go through the basic attack. Distortion Beam, slow amount reduced from 25% to 20%. That's a talent on your basic attack. I mean, I didn't really think that the slow was that much of a problem.
Yeah, I don't see what happens, and 5% is not really a big deal. Especially since competitive Tassadars actually go for the, I guess, security shift talents instead of slowing beam. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting
change.
Tassadar was too strong.
I
sure,
think that what they're
this...
trying to do here is put him in his support role.
Yeah,
and
maybe
get him out of the super damage dealer role that he's been in for the past few months. But
was this the right place to hit? I don't know.
Oracle nerf. That's nice, I guess. 7 to 5 seconds. It was pretty long.
It was too long. Oh yeah.
But
I
at the
wish
same
they
time,
reduced the AOE on it, but yeah.
at the same time, there needs to be counter to stealth heroes in pub games because otherwise people are just going to play Nova Zeratul all the time. Maybe not Nova anymore, but I don't know. We'll see.
Hey, hopefully.
I don't really care too much about these talents, but they're both mental acuity.
That's pretty
Is it
good.
what?
It
It's a
was
buff,
already...
but-
Yeah, 10 seconds was already a good reduction. I like mental acuity a lot, myself. 15 seconds, that's basically like a 33% uptime on your oracle. That's very interesting. Like, Tesla is just turning into a vision bot.
For sure.
Okay, and Scryer, that is completely insignificant.
Absolutely. Alright, nerf on Storm with the cast range. Cast range is 10 to 9.
Okay.
Okay, thanks Blizzard. Overload doesn't increase Ionic Storm damage, but it increases its cast range by 33%.
Interesting.
Once again, I think they're just trying to put him into a support role, and not as much of a damage role. But
That is gonna make that skill so deadly for interrupt objective.
absolutely.
That is crazy. That is that's an interesting title. I can't wait to try that out.
Psi Fusion gets a mana restore increase.
Okay, nobody takes that.
That's great. Nerf on Static Charge, which a lot of people take. Critical strike damage reduced from 175 of Tastar's basic attack damage. Once again, just like putting down his damage. They put him down as support. They decided he's going to be support, so they're trying to shove him into that role, which, I mean, I guess I don't have a problem with, but I just hope they haven't over-nerfed him.
Oh, yep. Hopefully. Second strike. Let me read that one. Time between casts reduced from 3 to 2 seconds. That is a huge change for people using second strike. The way that you could use second strike beforehand is that you could cast it, wait for 2.8 seconds, and then cast the other one. It would basically give you two complete storms. Now you're gonna have to cut the first one short if you want to get your maximum amount of damage on a single target. So that's a nerf.
That's a nerf as well. Void Shift, the Deep Shift talent, duration increased from 0.75 to 1.5 seconds, increasing your survivability, I guess. And
That is actually... Deep Shift is going to be in the same tier as the old critical strike damage increase again. That's interesting. 1.5 seconds makes it, what, a total of 3 seconds.
Yeah. So
If you have the speed boost with it, you're going to go far away with Tesla.
And Prescience effect cooldown reduced from 60 to 45.
Yeah.
Giving him more survivability, and honestly, like, I don't think that Tassadar's gonna be picked competitively for the same role that he was picked before. Especially with the next nerf, Archon duration reduced from 15 to 12 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we'll see Force Wall Tassadars. That might be pretty cool.
I've been experimenting with Force Wall, and I think it is a sleeper skill.
All right.
So I'm glad to see these nerfs.
You heard it here first.
Yep, sleeper.
Tyrael Judgment, damage reduced from 125 plus 10 to 60 plus 8. I mean, okay, that's a nerf, but nobody took Judgment for the damage anyway.
Yeah, it's just a straight up nerf. People still gotta use Judgment. Sanctification is not gonna see any use as long as it's
terrible talent for sure.
As long as it's this easy to interrupt. So, not much to say here.
Alright, moving on to Tyrande. Empower instantly reduces cooldowns by 2 seconds rather than cooling down by 4 seconds over a 2-second period.
That's a small nerf.
Yeah.
It makes it harder to use owls repeatedly, especially with ranged talents, to keep interrupting objectives, which I think was needed. It was pretty hard to deal with.
It was pretty annoying, especially with Asmodee and Tyrande on the same team.
Yep, absolutely.
And Shadowstalk cooldown increased from 50 to 70. I guess I agree with that. Shadowstalk was up a little bit too often, and it was really, really powerful in competitive play. Like, full information on your team is amazing. On the enemy team, I mean, is amazing.
Absolutely.
Alright, you want to read Uther?
Yeah, we've got Holy Light. That's your Q skill, healing skill. Heal amount reduced from 150 plus 44 to 135 plus 40. What do you think?
I think that Uther's Q was really, really, really powerful, and then his Q plus his W was this amazing burst heal. I don't know that it's needed. I kind of liked him where he was. He was a really, really powerful healer. cleanse, shield, all that kind of stuff. But
Yep.
you could kind of turn on him and blow him up, even though he comes back in ghost form. But
Mhm.
I guess they thought he was too powerful. Another thing could be is that he's pretty easy to use, so
Yep.
maybe he was getting really high win rates in like lower tier leagues or something.
I think he's getting high win rates all across the board. He was
Very true, yeah.
third highest winning champion, maybe. Hmm. So yeah, that's good. That's welcome, and that's something we foresaw, I believe.
Hmm.
And Holy Radiance, that's the W skill, the line damage and healing. The damage and healing bonus for each target hit are no longer separate. I'm not sure what that means.
So what that means is like, all right, say I Holy Radiance you, and you're standing behind 5 enemy creeps, right?
Yeah.
And I have that Gathering Radiance.
Yeah.
It would the damage would increase by 5% for each target hit, but when it healed you, it would still do the initial amount of healing, right?
Oh, I see.
But with
Okay.
this, the damage will also increase the healing, and vice versa.
Okay.
So
Good.
that's a nice little buff.
That's good. Yeah. So okay, I see what they did there. They took some of the power from Q and put it into Holy Radiance, which
Right,
is
the Gathering Radiance, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yes, that's good. That's
I like
really
it.
good. Yep, pushing the skill cap up.
And finally, we have Zagara. Infest has been nerfed much in the same way that Promote was nerfed. It is now much more of an active skill. You have to stay in lane to use it, and you have to be around the creeps that you use it with. And
Yep.
what do you think about the Creep Tumor trait? Zagara now regenerates a flat 1.5 health per second while on creep, and Reconstitution gives you an extra 4.5 health per second.
Well, that is an early game buff, but a late game nerf.
Mm-hmm.
Did Zagara need an early game buff? I don't think so. Did she need a late game nerf? I don't think so either. In fact, the regen late game was completely insignificant, and it was reduced. So I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know. That's a weird change. That's not something anyone predicted or anyone has ever talked about. Like an underused trait getting nerfed for like the mid-late game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Maybe they just wanted to change something, man.
Yeah, maybe they're just doing some house cleaning. Sometimes they change things that we don't necessarily see or understand, but they're just doing house cleaning, as I said.
All right, and there were a few more things I wanted to talk about in
Yep.
the heroes and talents. First is Brightwing can no longer use Phase Shift or Blink Heal to escape root effects, and I think that is a huge nerf to Brightwing.
Yep,
Um,
and
especially on
a
the
necessary
Blink
one.
Mhm.
A necessary one, if you ask me, but I might be biased against it. Oh,
And same with Falstad no longer being able to use Fly to escape root effects. That's not as big of a nerf, I think, because Fly has a pretty long
wind up.
wind
Yep.
up, but still, it's nice.
It's reasonable, yeah. There was something else about the Odin.
Yeah, Tychus's Odin. Let's
Yep.
see. Corrected an issue which applied Tychus's attack speed scaling to his Odin form. So we might go into this patch and see Tychus have a lot slower attack speed in Odin than we're used to, and that might
Yep.
be a huge nerf.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is frankly needed.
I agree.
So, really glad to see that.
Let's see, 2 more things. Nazebo's Ravenous Spirit Beam is now properly visible to enemy players. This will be really nice in pub games when Nazebo is ulting from Fog of War, because you don't always necessarily see his beam when he does that, like over a wall or something like that. So I think that's a little bit of a nerf to him, and it'll allow people to punish him more.
Mm-hmm. Which is okay. Like, it needed counterplay. I mean, it was balanced around the fact that you can find it and interrupt it.
Mm-hmm.
It is obviously grossly overtuned, and that was purposefully done. Simply because the rest of his kit is not exactly
For sure.
outstanding, so he needs his really good ult. Like, Nazebo is just about his ult, really.
And then finally we see Zeratil's Void Prism now pauses rather than cancels channeled abilities, which is, I think,